So, good evening, students. Today, I will discuss with you justice. And in your course, Contemporary Political Theory, I was supposed to, deal with, just John Rawls, Justice as Fairness. But before I, go into it, let me say something about justice and the position of John Rawls on justice. And today's talk is primarily, intended to give you a clarification what is justice and what are the different theories of justice and what is or what kind of theory of justice John Rawls represents. Right. So justice basically means it is creating a just state or society. Right. And that's why you know justice is uh, the value for any kind of just society. And I mean, what is a just society? A just society is one where you will find justice as its core value, right? So I have prepared a PPT for you, and let me share the PPT, and let's try to understand the concept of justice. Students, PPT is visible to all of you. PPT is
Yes, sir.
visible. Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, as I said just now, that justice is the first virtue of a good society or polity. Whether and how to know whether it is a good society or good polity. A good society and good polity is one where you will find justice. In the words of John Rawls, the leading contemporary moral and political philosopher of Harvard University, now he understands justice is the first virtue of social institution. Right here, we need to understand the social institution that creates social values, institution that shapes society is a social institution. Now, political institution. Are political institutions, social institution? Yes, all political institutions are social institutions because political institution ultimately, it shapes and reshapes the society. It contributes towards the social value. But all social institutions are not political institutions. But all political institutions are social institutions. Right? So to John Rawls, justice is the first virtue of social institutions. Right? And there is a widespread agreement among ordinary people, politicians, philosophers about the centrality of justice as moral political value. Now, what kind of value justice is? Now, justice is a moral and political value. Moral and political value, it means justice is something that comes, from your conscience, right? And justice is always related to a complex situation, right? Let me give you a situation to all of you to understand how justice is a moral and political value. Suppose there is a narrow road and on that road, uh, you know, the two sides of the road, uh, there is water, there is deep water, right? And on that road, only one car will pass, only one car. Imagine a situation where uh, from this end a car is going, and that in that car there are 10 people, and on the other hand a man, an individual, he or she is coming, or he is walking from the other end. From this end a car is going, having 10 individuals in it, and on the other side a individual is coming. Now uh, there is no chance, I mean, that individual cannot go back, and the car cannot also go back in such a situation. Now if the car will give side to that one individual, then the car will it will fall down in the water, and 10 people may lose their life, right? And uh, if the car will not give any scope to that one individual, if the car will just move on, then that one individual will fall down in the deep water, and he or she will lose his or her life. Now in such a situation, what is justice, or what is a just action? Should the car driver give side to that one individual? And if he will do that, it means 10 lives are in danger. The car will fall down in the water, and 10 people will die. Now if the car driver will, or if the car driver uh, wants to save 10 individuals who are inside the car, then the car driver has to kill that one individual who is coming from the other side. Now in such a situation, what the car driver should do? Students, are you getting me? I mean, can you hear me? May I get a confirmation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now if you are a car driver, what you will do? You will save 10 lives, or you will save one life. Now if you are saving one life, then you are actually jeopardizing the 10 lives, right? And if you want to save 10 lives, then you have to you know uh, uh, take one life. You have to literally kill that person. Once the person will fall down in the deep water, the person will die. Now in such a situation, what is the right thing? Now this is something, this is a political situation. This is a political situation, because what is political? Political basically means conflictual. Now there is a conflict between two choices. 10 life is more important, or one life is more important? So may I get a response from your side? Suppose you are a car driver, what you will do? You will save 10 lives, or you will save one life? May I get a response?
Save
Anyone who
10,
will? Yes, Lucy.
save life, 10 life.
So you will save 10 lives. Any other response quickly?
Every life is precious, sir. So,
That is true, but you have to take a decision. There is no other way. You cannot save 11 lives. Either you will save 10 lives, or you will save one life. Now this is the conflicting choice. You have to take a choice. You can come into, if you want, you can say me that if you are a driver, what you will do?
I do not understand, sir.
What you will do? I'm interested to listen from that student who told that every life is precious. Now it is understood, but this is a conflicting situation. This is a political situation. You have to take a decision. Now many people, they will choose 10 lives. Now 10 lives is more important than, you know, uh, saving 10 lives is having higher utility than saving one life. Now slightly I'm changing the situation. Suppose you are a doctor and you have, 10 patients, and all these 10 patients, they have a major, problem in their body, and some of their organs needs to be, transplanted. Now in such a situation, 10 diseased individual or body, they require 10 uh, different, organ transplantation, right? In such a situation, you are a doctor, and suddenly, an individual having good health, he comes to your, chamber, or he comes to your clinic. Now what you will do? Now if you kill that one individual, and you can take, all 10, healthy organs from, 10 organs from that healthy individual, you can take, and then you can fix, all these organ in, 10 diseased, in 10 patients, right? Now in such a situation, it is also, 10 life and one, right? So in order to save 10 life, can you kill that, person, the healthy person? Can you kill a healthy
No,
person?
sir.
No,
You
sir.
are taking all the organs from that healthy person, and when you are taking all the organs of that healthy person will die. But in return, you will be able to, uh, save, 10 lives. You donate, 10 organs to these 10 patients, so that their organ transplantation, it will be successful, and they will be okay. Will you kill that person?
No, sir.
Yes, this is, see, in the first instance, uh, majority people will say that saving 10 life is more important than saving one life. In the second instance, majority people will say that no, saving one life is important. I cannot take the life of one person in order to save 10%. Now this is a conflicting situation. Now I gave this, example in order to make you understand how justice is a moral and political value. It is political. Why? Because uh, because in which context you talk about justice? In a context where you are not able to take a decision, right? You can see the conflicting situation, and each situation has some, advantage and disadvantages. So we talk justice in conflicting situation, and all this conflicting situation is political situation. So justice is political, but justice is not simply political. Justice is also moral. मान लो कि justice political होता, तो फिर we will take the 10 lives is more important than the one life. Then being a doctor, you will kill that one, healthy individual, take all the, 10 organs from him, and try to, save 10 patients. No, you are not doing that. Why you are not doing that? Because somewhere your conscience does not allow you to do that. Now this is morality. So hence justice is both a moral and political value. Students, did you get what I said? Why it is a moral and political value? May I get a confirmation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But there is no such agreement among them on its meaning and scope. Now, all, whether it is ordinary people, politician, philosopher, they all say that justice is a moral and political value. But what is the meaning, and what is the scope? What is the nature of that political, moral and political value? Now there is, disagreement. Now on the meaning and scope, major differences are there in the views of liberal utilitarians, liberal egalitarians. John Rawls comes under this, category, liberal egalitarians. Then libertarian, communitarian, Marxist, and feminist theories. Now all these are actually the theory of justice. There is, liberal utilitarian theory of justice, liberal egalitarian theory of justice, libertarian theory of justice, communitarian theory of justice, Marxist theory of justice, feminist theory of justice. Now, out of all these views, liberal egalitarian theory of social justice propounded by John Rawls has come to occupy, a central position. Those who advocated, those who advanced alternative or competing theories of justice feel compelled to present their worth or merit in comparison or in contrast with the Rawls theory of justice. Now, among all these theories, the liberal egalitarian theory of justice is the reference point for all theories of justice, right? So that's why this liberal egalitarian theory of justice occupies a central position so far as discourse on justice is concerned. Now these are various theories of justice. You can see libertarian theory of justice, mostly Robert Nozick. It is his contribution. Then communitarian theory of justice, mainly it is the contribution of Michael Sandel. Then capability theory of justice, that is Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum. Then liberal egalitarian theory of justice, mostly given by John Rawls. Then there is ethics of care theory of justice. Gilligan, she has given such a theory. Then Dorkin, he has given the egalitarian theory of justice. Then Harshanai, she has given preference theory of justice. Right. You can do a Google search. You can find what this theory of justice mean. Right. Now in this you can find here you can see John Rawls, Robert Nozick, then Cohen, Durkheim, Gilligan, then Sandel, then Harsanai, Amartya Sen, Martha Nussbaum, and all these theories, they belong to this ideology. Now John Rawls belongs to welfare liberal egalitarian school of thought. Nozick, libertarian school of thought. Libertarian, anarcho-capitalist school of thought. Then Cohen belongs to egalitarian analytical Marxist school of thought. The Durkheim, he represents responsibility sensitive egalitarian school of thought. Then Gilligan, she belongs to feminist ethics of care school of thought. And you can see, and these are the basic justification, and this is their normative position. Now you see, this is the person. Here you will see in this column, these are the theories, and in this column, this is their ideology, or they belong to this school of thought, and what is their normative position. Here in this column, you will find their normative position, and here you will find why they belong to, or why they have this normative position. This is the basis of justification. So I will not go through it, but you refer it. You can also do a Google search in order to find more about their ideology, about their normative position, about their justification, right? So I'm not going into it. Now here I think I have summarized certain theories of justice. I think a preliminary understanding of different theories of justice is very much required before you enter to John Rawls or liberal egalitarian theory of justice. Now to Rawls, the intuitive notion of justice is that individuals are equal in a society that itself is a system of fair cooperation. Thus, he thinks that at a minimum, justice will mean a certain kind of equality that fosters cooperation among the members of society. Now, if you analyze, these 2 or 3 lines, you will find that John Rawls, he is giving importance to the individual, but he is having a positive understanding about the individual, and to him, individual, by using their liberty, he believes The liberty must be given to the individual. Now, individual, by exercising their liberty, they must ensure equality in the society, right? So by exercising the liberty, individual will try to develop a system which is based on fair cooperation, right? And John Rawls thinks that justice will mean a certain kind of equality that fosters cooperation among the members of the society. I mean, the liberty, the freedom, or the right, what I carry, you also carry the same liberty, right, and freedom. And if I, strongly hold my liberty, it is my responsibility to protect your liberty. So that's how, I must behave equally towards you. Now, if all individual will do like this, then in society you will find some kind of cooperation, right? And when society is characterized by the cooperation, then that society will ultimately become a just society. So in a just society, you will find a liberty, you will find equality, and you will find fraternity. Now, without fraternity, you cannot imagine, cooperation. So if the value of liberty and value of equality understand each other's contribution and develops a kind of brotherhood, develops a kind of cooperation, then it will lead to fraternity, and a society which is based on that fraternity is called a just society, and justice is all about establishing a just society. Now, coming to Nojik's theory of justice is based on the idea that a distribution of wealth is just if everyone has what they are entitled to. His theory of is called the entitlement theory of justice. Today, I was giving example in my class in the department. Suppose in if you two you know uh, students are there, right? And I as a teacher, I said that if you write one page, I will give you 1 mark. If you write one page, I will give you 1 mark. And these two students, what they did, now one wrote 5 pages, another wrote 10 pages, right? So according to their entitlement, I should give 10 marks to that student who has written 10 pages, and I was supposed to give 5 marks to that student who has written 5 pages, because it is their entitlement. So according to Nojik, uh, what is justice? Justice is to give uh, according to according to one's own entitlement, right? And if that student has written 10 pages, he should get the 10 marks. If the student has written 5 pages, he should get the 5 marks. Now, to Dworkin, justice is the sovereign virtue of a liberal political community, and at the same time, justice is a parameter of individual ethics. Now, Dworkin, he is saying that that individual should not be prioritized. Rather, a liberal political community should be prioritized. Here, community means basically collective. So, Dworkin is in support of collectivity, not the individual. But what is the nature of that collectivity? The nature of that collectivity is that it must be a liberal political community. A liberal political community is that community which believes in the rationality of the individual, right? So a liberal political community believes in the rationality of the individual. It believes in the individual. So individual are the best judge of their own situation, right? And so what is justice? Justice is maintaining sovereignty, or when a liberal political community maintains sovereignty, when liberal political community is extremely free, right? It's sovereign, right? Nobody is above them. The liberal political community, then that is justice. And individuals, must be ethical, right? So in such a state, in a liberal political state, the job of the state is to develop the ethics and morality within the individual so that they can part of the liberal political community. And once the liberal political community becomes sovereign, it automatically means individuals who are having or who are guided by ethics and morality, they also automatically become sovereign. Now coming to Michael Sandel's proposal, that Michael Sandel's proposal is that we ought to engage publicly and politically in proper moral discussion about what is good or what the good is for a society, then start enacting those policies that will bring about both good and a feeling of solidarity within the community. That is how to achieve justice. Now to Michael Sandel, what is justice? To Sandel, justice means, what is good for the society, that is justice. So Sandel, being a communitarian, he is giving emphasis on the community, on the society. So what is good for the society, that is good for the all. Now once it is decided what is good for the society, now that decision will be imposed on all individuals. Individuals may happily accept the decision or individual may unhappily accept the decision. But what is justice to Sandel? Justice means a decision which is, justice, to Sandel, justice means what is good for the society, that is justice. What is good for the society, that is justice. Good for the society means it has to be good for the individual. Right? Either individual will accept that good or individual will unknowingly accept that good. Now to next is the Carlo Gillon. She's a feminist, and to her justice is morality, and morality varies from morality to a man differs from morality to a woman, right? So Carlo Gillon's research on morality suggests that men and women have different approaches to justice and morality, and Gillon's work has challenged the idea that justice is only the adequate framework for morality. So justice, to Gillon, justice is what? Justice is morality. And the morality of a man is different from the morality of a woman. So justice to men is different from justice to women. Now to Amartya Sen, the concept of justice should not be indifferent to the lives of the people which they are actually living. Justice means developing the capability of the individual so that they can achieve their own well-being. So to Amartya Sen, what is justice? Justice means developing the capability of the individual. Now once state will develop the capability of individual, now individuals are in a right situation to achieve their own well-being. So the state will not do any kind of service to them. The function of the state is to develop the capability of the individual. Now once individuals are capable, they can achieve their own well-being. They will not depend on welfare policies of the state. Now to John Arsani, justice is to follow the rules that will result in most happiness, highest expected social utility. Now to him, justice means happiness. So anything that makes you happy, that is justice. And what is happiness? Happiness, an individual will get happiness only when the highest expected social utility of that individual gets satisfied, right? So only when only when an individual becomes happy. Individuals become happy only when individual contributes to the society. Only when individual becomes the solution to any kind of social problem. Suppose you are the reason of happiness for others. If others are happy because of you, then you are actually happy. And justice means spreading happiness. I'll be happy for you, you will be happy for me. Now, in a society where we all are happy on each other, then that is a just, society, and justice is this. Now, to Cohen, justice is a central, moral standard and a value that is expressed through, distributive justice. He argued that justice requires equality and that distributive justice should apply to both public and private sphere. Now, Cohen is saying that justice is not, a value that is meant in public sphere. Justice is also there in the private sphere. And what is justice? Now, justice means a just distribution, a just distribution. Now to Cohen. Now, in nutshell, I just discussed, these different theories, but I want all of you to, do a Google search to find, more about these theories, to know their, what I said. You must know uh, their primary ideology, primary ideologies of theories, then their normative position, their basic justification. You can do a Google search to find more on it. Students, let me take 1 or 2 minutes break. I need a glass of water. Then I'm coming back. Be there. Welcome back. May I get a confirmation that am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So here in this slide, you get to know, there are different theories of justice, different thinkers. They have, different positioning, different justification, arguments, uh, supporting their own, moral position. And we will not, discuss all these theories. We will discuss only one theory, that is liberal egalitarian, theory of justice. Mostly it has been given by, John Rawls. So justice serves uh, to organize people. Okay. Now, justice serves to organize people together into right or fair order of relationship by distributing to each person his or her due, share of rights and duties, rewards and punishment. Now, what is justice? Now, justice is, all about, organizing the people together, binding the people together, right, in a right and fair order of relationship. So justice is all about, maintaining the relationship. The justice is all about, and how you will maintain the relationship. Now, only when you distribute, uh, you know, distribute one's own, rights, duties, rewards, punishment in a due manner. Right. The crime, what I do, if the same crime is done by you and done by me, the amount of punishment which is applicable to me, that amount of punishment is also belongs to you. Right. So justice is all about, maintaining this, standard. Right. Now, as a moral and political value, justice is interlinked with such other moral political values as liberty, equality, and fraternity. I said before, if you remember, justice is all about, a synthesis between the liberty and equality, right? And the right synthesis between the liberty and equality will produce, fraternity. So fraternity, basically, if there is fraternity, then uh, you can, organize, you can bind the people together. Right? So in fact, justice brings, adjustment between the values of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The more justice brings this adjustment, the more it may establish a just society and just state. So what is the purpose? What is the ultimate goal of justice? Ultimate goal of justice to achieve fraternity. And how to, achieve fraternity? Now, only when, liberty, the value of liberty and the value of equality, uh, understand each other's, contribution. Now, this adjustment can be brought when there is, right or fair ordering of human relations by giving it to each person his or her due rights and duties, as well as due rewards and punishment. Now, how to, bring this, fraternity or adjustment between the liberty and equality? Only when there is a, fair order of human relationship. And this fair order of human relationship can be, maintained if there is, now, or if, each individual gets his or her due rights, duties, his or her, due, rewards and punishment, then you can, establish a, you can establish fraternity. Now, procedural justice refers to, there is, difference between the procedural justice and substantive justice. Now, procedural justice refers to justice or fairness or impartiality of the processes and procedures through which a law or policy or a decision is arrived at and applied. And substantive justice refers to justice or fairness of the content of outcome of laws, policies, and decisions. Now, this is very important. What is the difference between the procedural justice and, substantive justice? So, procedural justice basically based on the principles of non-discrimination. And substantive justice basically, based on the principles of positive discrimination, right? Now, if the law does not discriminate, between individuals, then this is a part of procedural justice, right? So, the processes, the procedure of law, policy, it is same for all individuals. It is applied equally over all individuals, right? But the procedural justice may not, alone, establish a just society, right? The substantive justice basically means whether the justice what the state provides to individual, whether that individual is getting their justice practically or not. Now that is the main concern of the substantive justice, right? And suppose the state feels that the last person is not getting the justice what it is provided by the state. Now for that last person, the state will do certain positive discrimination, or the state will do certain affirmative action for that individual, so that the justice substantively, right, substantively is practical, this justice will reach to that person practically. That is called substantive justice. Now principles of procedural justice have traditionally been based on the idea of formal equality of person. Formal equality basically means uh, all are equal before the eyes of law. Uh, Equality before law, that is procedural justice. Now in this sense, procedural justice is right based justice based on right to equality, whereas the substantive justice is need based. Now this is another difference between the procedural justice and substantive justice. Procedural justice is very much right based justice, and substantive justice is need based justice. Right based justice means that is equal, right to equality, right? uh, I mean equality before law. Now that is a procedural justice, that is based on the right, or it is a right based justice. But then equal protection of law, now that is a substantive justice, because in that you get to know that uh, even if you have given the procedural justice to all, but justice has not reached to certain section of the society, hence they need some special attention, and hence they, since they need, it is a need based justice. Now Rawls justice is based on the theory of pure procedural justice. Right. Now Rawls justice is not substantive, it is pure procedural justice. By pure procedural justice, Rawls means that the justice of his distributive principle is okay. I'm rereading. By pure procedural justice, Rawls means that the justice of his distributive principle is founded on justice as fairness of the procedures through which they have been arrived at. So, what is the base of his pure procedural justice? The base of his pure procedural justice is, distributive justice, right? Or justice as fairness. Distributive justice, justice as fairness. That is the base of his pure procedural justice. Now there are different kinds of justice. That is need based justice, that is right based justice, that is deserts based justice. Now the reference of need based justice can be found in Marx principles of communism, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. Generally socialists subscribe to one or another version of need based justice. Egalitarian justice, they differentiate needs, especially basic material needs, from wants, preference, desire. So there is difference between needs, wants, preference, desire. The former, the need are taken to be objective and universal, whereas the latter are seen to be, culturally related and market related. Now, wants, preference, desires. Now, that is something market related, concept or culture related concept. But the need is something which is very much objective and it is universal. Needs-based justice calls for a egalitarian distribution of resources within and across the country. Now there is another, form of justice, that is right-based justice. Now right-based conception of justice differ from egalitarian need-based justice. According to the classical liberalism, Locke and David Hume, the main function of the state is to protect the negative liberty or negative rights, liberty rights of the individual. The welfare state or the egalitarian liberal stress on the positive freedom and welfare rights of the citizen. The present day libertarian, that is Robert Nozick, who are heirs of the classical liberalism, espouse an entitlement centered non-egalitarian conception of social justice. So one is the need-based justice, mostly you will find in a socialist system. Another is right-based justice, mostly you will find in liberal system, liberal political system. There is another kind of justice, that is desert-based justice. Now desert-based conception of justice are occasionally referred to as natural justice. That means who deserves, he will get. And the deserve is something, I deserve because naturally I am gifted. Nature has given that quality to me, that's why I deserve. Now it is tough. Now it is a tough and non-egalitarian version of right-based justice. Now you see in the right-based justice there is there is some form of equality is there, but in the desert-based justice there is no equality. It is non-egalitarian version of right-based justice. Its emphasis it emphasizes the idea of natural desert or innate worth of the individual, which are assumed to constitute the basics of the God-given, right? So I deserve because I have that quality, and that quality has been given by me to the God, by the God, by the nature, and it is unalterable. Now once it is given to me, nobody can snatch it from me. Now Edmund Burke, then Herbert Spencer upheld these ideas. Spencer maintains that each individual should get the benefits and the evils of its own nature and consequent conduct, right? So nature has given me certain qualities, and if nature has given me positive qualities, then I am a positive person. If nature has given negative qualities, then I am a negative person. Now you cannot change a negative person. You cannot make a positive person into negative or negative person into the positive. Now that is the main concern of desert-based justice. Now coming to Rawls liberal egalitarian principles of social justice. Now till now we just discussed justice, common understanding of justice. We discussed the procedural justice versus substantive justice. Then we discussed need-based justice, right-based justice, and desert-based justice. Now coming to liberal egalitarian principles of social justice. Now Rawls' principles of social justice are a corrective to the liberal utilitarian principles of the greatest happiness of greatest in number. Now something which is majority. I mean, what is justice? What the majority said, that is justice. Now Rawls is having problem with this utilitarian principles of justice. Now Rawls recognizes that liberal utilitarianism marked a progressive and welfare oriented departure from the classical liberalism preoccupation with the individualistic right. Now Rawls agrees that liberal utilitarians, they are far better than the classical liberals. because classical liberals were giving more rights to the individual, but liberal utilitarians, they give rights to the collective, and to them the majority, who is right. If the majority is supporting something, now that is right, that is just. Yet, I mean, Rawls is not against the utilitarianism, but Rawls is critics or is critical of utilitarianism. Yet, utilitarianism, in Rawls' view, a morally flawed theory of justice. I mean, Rawls is saying that there is some problem in the utilitarian theory of justice. Now, its moral flaw is that it justifies and condemns the sacrificing of good of some individual for the sake of happiness of the greatest number. Now, what is the problem with the utilitarian theory of justice is that the minority is wrong, majority are right. So the idea of justice given by minority is of less important than the idea of justice given by the majority community. Now, this is the major problem with the utilitarian, and John Rawls had identified that. Now, for utilitarian, the criteria of justice in a society is aggregate sum of utility or happiness or welfare it produces, not the well-being and welfare of each member of the society. Now, utilitarians, for them, uh, I mean, if majority are happy with a policy, then that policy, I mean, they conclude that the policy gives happiness. Utilitarians, they don't consider the feelings of the minority. They don't consider whether each member of the society is happy or not. Now, two concepts, students. One is majority concept. Another is uh, what is that concept? Unanimity. If whether decision is taken on the majority or decision is taken on unanimity. Now, utilitarians, they were taking the decision on majority, but John Rawls is saying that decision cannot be taken on majority. Rather, decision must be taken on unanimity. It means each member point of view must be taken care of. Each member must feel that they are part of the society. Now, Rawls derives inspiration from Immanuel Kant. Rawls derives inspiration from Immanuel Kant's moral idea of the freedom and equality of every human being. According to Kant, every human being is to be treated as an end in himself, not herself, not as a means to the end of others. Remember the example what I had given in the beginning of the class. Suppose you are a doctor, a healthy person is coming, but that healthy person, according to Kant, now if you are guided by the Kant, then you cannot kill that healthy person in order to take 10 organs from him, so that you can feed these organs in the 10 patients, so the 10 patients you will be regained for their life, right? Now, why you cannot do that? Because in that case you are unknowingly or knowingly guided by the philosophy of Immanuel Kant. Why? Because you think that every human being is an end in themselves, right? Even that healthy person, uh, why that healthy person should be killed? That healthy person has not given his consent that you kill me, take my 10 organs. That healthy person is an end. That I, as a doctor, you cannot use that healthy person as a means, even if you have a very good end in order to save 10 patients. But that healthy individual is also an individual. Now, both in his method and procedures of arriving at the principles of distributive or social justice, and consequently in the content or substance of those principles, Rawls tries to give centrality to the moral principles of the freedom and equality of every person. Right. Now, according to Rawls, a stable and reasonably well-off society is a cooperative venture for mutual advantage. Along with cooperation, there is also conflict among its members regarding their share of burdens and benefits of social living. The purpose of the principles of social justice is to ensure that the distribution of the benefits and burden of the society is just or fair to all its members. The basic institution of society should, according to Rawls, to be constructed as to ensure continuous distribution of social primary goods to all the members of the society in a fair and just manner. Now, social primary goods are goods which are distributed by the basic structure of a society. They include rights and liberties, power and opportunities, income and wealth. Rawls argues that the distribution of the social primary goods among the members of a society is just if that distribution is made in accordance with the following principles of justice. Now, what is the principle number one? Now, principles of equal basic liberty. Now, each person has the same what is it? Each person has same uh, in indefeasible claim to a fully adequate scheme of equal basic liberties, scheme which is compatible with the same scheme of liberties of all. This is the first principle. Second principle, fair equality of opportunity and difference principle. Now, social and economic inequality are to satisfy two conditions. First, they are to be attached to office and position upon to all on under condition of fair equality of opportunity, and second, they are to be to the greatest benefit of the least advantaged members of the society. Now, these principles are listed here in order of their lexical priority. By lexical priority, Rawls means that the first principle must be fully satisfied before the next principle is applied. It means, for instance, that liberty can be restricted only for the sake of liberty. Right. Now, liberty cannot be restricted in order to maintain equality. Now, Rawls is not supporting that. My liberty can be restricted if it is, violating your liberty. Right. And not to say for the sake of income or wealth. It must, however, be noted in this context that Rawls assumes that society to which his principles of social justice are to be applied is one which is reasonably well off and in which the basic material needs of all are provided for. Now, the main purpose of the rule of priority is to, assign greater importance to the equal basic liberties than to other primary social goods. In basic liberties, Rawls includes freedom of conscience, freedom of thought, freedom of person, along with right to hold, personal property, freedom from arbitrary arrest, detention, or in other words, freedom of the rule of law, freedom of speech and assemble, and political freedoms. Now, according to Rawls, these basic rights and liberties enables us to exercise and realize our two highest order of moral powers, namely the capacity to understand, apply, and to act according to the principles of justice, and second, the capacity to form, revise, and pursue the conception of the good. Now, in Rawls' view, every member of a just society must be viewed as having these two moral, capacities, and these make them free and equal citizens. The moral equality of citizens means they each have and view themselves as having a right to equal respect and consideration. I determining determining the principles by which basic arrangements of their society are to be regulated. The freedom of the citizens include their freedom to realize their capacity to pursue their own conception of good life. Since the distribution of social primary goods will have to respect the equality and freedom and fraternity and welfare, etc., of all the member of the society, it cannot strictly be equal distribution across the broad. According to Rawls, once the basic material needs of the people are met, their right to basic liberties is to be accorded priority over their right to other social primary goods, which are covered by the principles of equal opportunities and difference principle. While he is opposed to any unequal distribution of basic liberties, he assumed that some inequalities in income and wealth are inevitable and perhaps not undesirable. Accordingly, the main purpose of his second principles of social justice is to keep inequalities within the bounds of justice and fairness. Obviously, the distinction between the just and fair inequalities and unjust and unfair inequality is of crucial importance in Rawls' theory of social justice. So Rawls is saying there is a fair, you know, there is a just and fair inequality, there is a unjust and unfair inequality. There are two kinds of inequality: just inequality and unjust inequality. Now, Rawls think that excessive equality in income and wealth would destroy the economic incentives required for the greater creativity and productivity. Here, Rawls is giving importance on liberty. Now, this would be harmful to both the rich and poor. From the standpoint of poor as well as of the rich, justice does not require the complete elimination of economic inequality. Rawls believe that certain inequality which serve as incentives for the greater creativity and productivity of the talented and gifted are not unjust if that greater creativity and productivity are integrated into social, structural or institutional arrangement for distribution to benefits of all, especially the least advantaged member of the society. He also thinks that giving advantage to the least advantaged would invariably entail giving benefits to everyone else. Rawls maintains that a society can so structure or restructure its basic institution as to make inequalities in income and wealth yield, maximum benefits to the least, advantage. Maximum in comparison to any reasonable, alternative social restructuring. His difference principle is meant not to replace inequality with equality in income and wealth, but to transform a unfair, unjust degree or kind of economic inequality into fair and just or degree by maximizing the benefits of the least advantage. So John Rawls is against the unfair or unjust inequality, but John Rawls is with the just inequality. Inequality must be there because inequality is also a incentives to the resource generators. Now, according to the difference principle, inequalities which are advantageous to the better off, not to the least advantage, are unjust. Now, Rawls' principles of a fair equality of opportunities stipulates that the state should ensure, equality of opportunity in the educational, cultural, economic sphere, as well as, provide unemployment and, sickness benefits. These requires, interventionist welfare state to run, aid school to regulate the economy, etc. So Rawls is saying that creativity must be given importance, a fair inequality must be maintained, but at the same time, those who are least advantaged, those who are left out, they must be taken care of. Now, the principles of justice which we have discussed so far have been described by Rawls as special formulation of a general conception of justice. This general conception is stated as all social primary good, liberty and opportunity, income and wealth, and the basis of self-respect are to be distributed equally, unless an unequal distribution of any or all these goods is to the advantage of the least favor. What Rawls means by this general conception of justice is that only those inequalities are unjust which put some members or society at disadvantage. This general conception of justice, however, does not differentiate between the different social primary goods. It does not say, for instance, how to resolve the conflict, if any, between the distribution of income and the distribution of liberty. It is to meet this difficulty that Rawls provides the general conception into a special conception of two principles which have to discuss above, which we have discussed above. Now the social, contract, procedure. Rawls adopts the social contract method or procedure of political deliberation as the principle of just or fair distribution because these principles respect the, Kantian liberal egalitarian moral idea of the freedom and equality of all persons, and that an agreement or contract arrived at through such method or procedure is just or fair to all parties to that contract. His social contract is hypothetical and not historical or actual. It is only meant to be hypothetical uh, assembly or original position or heads of the family. They hypothetically assemble before the formation of the organization of their society in order to enter into an agreement or social contract on the general principles of distributive justice, on the basis of which the institution of their society are to be constructed. Now, in order to ensure the impartiality or fairness in their agreement or social contract, and to incorporate the moral idea of the freedom, equality of person, Rawls postulates that the contractors in his original position are under a veil of ignorance about their attributes, class, social status, and their own conception of good. They, however, do have knowledge of the general circumstances of justice, such as limited benevolence of people and the conflict of interest over the limited amount of social primary good. They also know that in the actual society in which they would have to live, they may perhaps end up as the least advantaged member of the society. Now, given this uncertainty about their actual position, a contractor may come to occupy in the actual society, it is rational for him or her to assume that he or she may end up in the least advantaged position, and accordingly to choose a general principles of distribution that would give the best deal to the least advantaged member of the society. Each contractor would follow the minimum rules of choice, which says that in an uncertain situation, one should choose so as to maximize one's minimum prospect. Let me take a glass of water. Be there. Welcome back. Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are discussing about social contract procedure that has patented by John Rawls, in his you know justice, or in his conception of justice. Now, taken together, Rawls' principles of social justice ranked in the order of their lexical priority embodied the liberal egalitarian moral injunction of Immanuel Kant, namely that human beings are always to be treated as an end in themselves and never as mere means to the ends of others. Now, from this perspective, it would be unjust to sacrifice the basic rights and liberties of some person for the sake of any majoritarian or utilitarian conception of the good. Unlike liberal utilitarian justice, Rawls' uh, liberal egalitarian justice is marked by its concern for equality and welfare of everyone, including especially the least advantaged member of the society. Right. And what about the basic structure of the society? Now, Rawls has persuasively, shown that social justice is of, crucial importance to social life, and that it should inform the constitution, law, policies, legal procedure, etc. In fact, according to Rawls, the primary, subject of justice is the basic structure of the society. His principles of social justice justifies, and it is justified by liberal democracy, a regulated market economy, liberal egalitarian welfare state. He states that for translating his different principle into practice, the government should have four branches: allocation, uh, an allocation branch to keep the price system workably, competitive, and to prevent the formation of the unreasonable market power. And second, the stabilization branch to bring about reasonably full employment, and jointly with the allocation of branch to maintain the efficiency of the market. And third, a transfer branch to attain the claims of the need and appropriate standard of life. And fourth, distribution branch to preserve an appropriate justice in distributive sphere by taxation measures and adjustment in property right. Now, so far we discussed, Rawls, you know, uh, his position on his theory of justice. Now there are criticism to the Rawlsian justice, and this criticism has been provided by the libertarian school of thought. Criticism has been provided by Marxian school of thought. Then criticism has been provided by communitarian school of thought. Right. So let's spend some time to this criticism. Libertarian critique. Now, libertarians, what they are saying now, Rawls, liberal egalitarian conception of justice has been subjected to rigorous libertarian critique by his late colleague Robert Nozick. Now, Robert Nozick is criticizing to John Rawls. Now, in his book Anarchy, State, and Utopia, Nozick draws a distinction between, end state and patterning conception of justice on one hand, and historical and enlightened entitlement based conception of justice on the other. The former type of justice calls for social reconstruction or patterning by the state in the name of some you know end stage goal. Rawls' conception of justice is, according to Nozick, such an end state and patterning conception, which by undermining the liberty rights of the individual is unfair and unjust to them. Instead of prescribing any end state or patterning principles of distribution, Nozick looks for justice or injustice in the history of acquisition of titles to our property holding. Right. Now, according to him, the individual has absolute liberty right, including right to his own property and exchange it in the market, regardless of his, end state or pattern of distribution it may lead to. This entitlement theory of justice, however, include the principles of, rectificatory justice, which is meant to correct the past injustice, if any, in the acquisition of transfer of property. It can be seen that Nodik's libertarian conception of justice is a defense of the free market capitalism, which while it is eloquent on the defense of individual rights from the state interference, it is silent on the undermining of individuals' freedom and equality by very rich people or corporations. This is libertarian critique. Now, what is the Marxian critique of Rawlsian justice? Now, many Marxists criticize the liberal egalitarian for their preoccupation with just and fair distribution within the capitalist system and their failure to address its underlying or inherent exploitative or alienating inequalities between the capitalist and worker. They are the ideal, communist society which Marxism seeks to bring about through the, destruction of a system of private ownership of the means of production is, envisioned as a society in which there will be no scarcity, no limits to the human benevolence, and no state. Since the scarcity of social primary goods and limited nature of human benevolence are the circumstances of justice for Rawls' theory, they are presumed absence in the communist society makes any principles of fair and just distribution irrelevant to such a society. Instead of any such judicial, superstructural distributed principle, the higher form of community, envisaged by communism will function according to the principle, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. In the socialist phase, which precedes and gives birth to the higher and final communist phase, a work-based, contribution-based principles of distribution will prevail. The collapse of Soviet communism and the growing pace of liberalization in country after country, each with its own pattern of inequalities, have served to cast doubt on the realism of traditional Marxist hope for the elimination of the circumstances of injustice, and in a society in which social or distributive justice is irrelevant. In fact, departing from the traditional Marxism, some contemporary Marxists interpret the extraction of surplus value from the workers by the capitalists as derived form of injustice, which, according to them, rest on prior and larger injustice in access to the means of production. In this way, their agenda of liberal egalitarian social justice that has been launched by John Rawls seems to be having some impact on Marxism. Now, coming to the communitarian critique. Now, communitarian theories critique Rawls' liberal egalitarian conception of justice for its emphasis on individual right at the expense of the good of the community. In his book Liberalism and Limits of Justice, Michael Sandel criticizes what he calls Rawls' notion of disembodied or unencumbered self or subject, in opposition to which he advances the notion of the situated self, that is, the self or the subject which is invariably a member of a community. While for Rawls, the right is prior to the good and justice is the first virtue of the society, for Sandel, justice is only a remedial virtue that is needed in an individualistic society. For Sandel, moreover, the common good of the community is prior to the rights of the individual. Charles Taylor, who too is a leading communitarian political philosopher, bemoans liberalism's atomistic conception of the self. According to him, the well-being of the individual depends on the good of its community, and therefore the recognition and the protection of the group or cultural right of a community is not less important than the just distribution of the freedom or equality, rights to the individual. Right. So students, this is three critique to the John Rawls conception of justice. Right. I think seeing all these critique, I can say that all these critics, they are just justifying their own position, but perhaps they have not understood the Rawls sense of understanding. Rawls sense of understanding. Right. Okay. So for Rawls, uh, liberty is very important. Equality is also equally important, right? And Rawls has brought a very good balance between the values of liberty and equality. And in his theory, uh, Rawls has justified, uh, I mean, the feeling of fraternity, right? So the feeling of fraternity is possible. It is possible to achieve the feelings of fraternity, right? But then all these schools of thought, uh, I mean, they are also right in their own position. Uh, right. It basically means that debates of justice, it is still it is going on. Now, how to create a just society? On one hand, Rawls is giving importance to the liberty that individual must be given liberty, so that individual, by developing his creativity, individual will uh, contribute to the national wealth. On the other hand, Rawls is saying that inequality, it will, now once you are giving liberty to the individual, then it means certain inequalities, it will come, right? And some of the inequalities are just inequality, and some of the inequalities are unjust inequality. And John Rawls is not against the just inequality; he is against the unjust inequality, and he is saying that to address the unjust inequality, uh, the equality principle must be maintained. So the least advantage uh, must be taken care of, must be thought before any policies are actually made. So on one hand, he is giving rights to the individual. On the other hand, he is uh, you know talking about the least advantage. Right? So I think John Rawls is making sense looking at present scenario. So every nation state needs both things. Uh, National capital. Every nation state needs national capital, and it, it is also the responsibility of the nation state to maintain a equal atmosphere within its own territory. Right. And to maintain the social justice policies, you also require the wealth, and from where you will bring the wealth. So I think John Rawls is making sense. uh, right. Now it's up to you, students. It's up to you that uh, whether you will belong to Rawlsian school of thought, or you will belong to the communitarian school of thought, or libertarian school of thought, or Marxist school of thought. It depends on you, depends on your choice. Right. So I think that uh, the debate over justice is not over. Right. It is still, it is continuing. Right. So in the next class, I will go into, I just gave a kind of, glimpse of John Rawls' concept of, justice. Today I read many theoretical sentences. I understand that you have not understood it. But in the next class, while I will deal with the concept of justice and fairness given by John Rawls. I think in the next class you will get a better clarity. Uh, right. So if you combine these two classes, today's class and the next class, I think you will get a sense of what John Rawls position on justice. Right. So I'm stopping myself here. If you have any question, you can ask. Any question you have? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You have any question?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. For this, Rawls concept of justice, you have any reading materials with you?
No, sir.
Do you have any reading material?
No.
No. No.
But
No book is.
you are not asking any reading material. So what is that you are going to write in your exam?
According to your WhatsApp, we
Eh,
again start.
Okay, I mean, once I will post it in the YouTube, you will again view it.
Yes.
And from these, PPT, what is visible, on your screen right now, you will take note out of it,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yes, sir.
But I think it is always good to, read certain, material, certain things, right? So that uh, maybe, I have written wrong things, right? So my teacher used to tell me that you should learn and unlearn from your teachers. A good student is one uh, who learn and who unlearn. Right. So believing teacher is good, but a better student should always disbelieve the teacher, and a better student should always read um, certain text. Right.
Yes, sir.
Let me go back. So today what we have discussed. Uh, okay. We just introduced the justice. Then I said there are different theories of justice. Then this is something different primary ideology, basic justification, normative position. Then these are the brief description of the theories of justice, right? And then after we talked about the idea of justice, then procedural justice versus substantive justice, then need-based justice, right-based justice, desert-based justice, then Rawls concept of justice. So Rawls first he initially critiqued the utilitarian theory of justice. Then Rawls has given the liberal egalitarian principles of justice, right? After that, we continue that liberal egalitarian principles of justice. This is something crucial, that what is that liberal egalitarian principles of justice? Uh, we have spent some time here. Again, liberal egalitarian principles of justice. Okay. Then, critique of utilitarianism. Right. Rawls has criticized, utilitarian theory of justice. Okay, then Rawls' liberal egalitarian principles of justice. Okay, then Rawls has discussed the social contract, procedure. It's continued it. Then basic structure of the society, what Rawls has said. Then criticism to the Rawls, justice, libertarian critique. Then Marxian critique, then communitarian critique, and this is the end of the show. Okay. So there is no question. So let me end the record.